A line of cars forms at one of Flint's few remaining water stations. The state of Michigan has been providing free bottled water to Flint residents since January 2016, following the water crisis that left the city with dangerous levels of lead in the city's water supply.
We don't have any cases, but we're going to give you 2 cases of gallons, okay?
But earlier in the month, authorities announced they would stop the service. They say lead levels have not exceeded federal limits for almost 2 years. That decision has sparked anger for residents arriving at this church-operated distribution centre.
They doing this wrong, man. They just shouldn't do us like that. Y'all should keep providing us that water until y'all fix every single last pipe, period.
This church relies on donations to maintain the service. Those here say the state has acted too soon.
It is the psychological damage that has been that has taken place here. In some cases, far exceed the physical damage. They just don't trust it. You know, how can you trust that water is safe to drink and it's coming out brown? Or my skin is still coming up with new different blotches of rashes. How can I trust that?
The water crisis stems back to 2014, when state officials began using the Flint River rather than the Detroit water system as a source for tap water. Flint is working to replace all the affected lines by 2020. So far, more than 6,000 have been replaced, but some 12,000 remain. In a statement, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder said the scientific data proved the water system is now safe. One resident does not agree with that assessment.
You don't know what are you doing to yourself. You don't know whether you're killing kids. You don't know whether you're poisoning the whole house. You know what I mean? It's just like a big scare tactics almost, you know what I mean? And we won't see exactly what's going on to 10 years down the line.
Flint is one of the poorest cities in the United States, with some 40% estimated to be living below the poverty line. Many cannot afford to spend what money they have on bottled water.
The sense of anger here in Flint over the water crisis appears to be as strong as ever. Most simply do not believe the authorities' claims that the water is now safe, and they demand that the supplies of bottled water and filters continues.
Flint City Hall officials will continue to supply households with water filters and replacement cartridges. One community activist says the state needs to do more.
I don't feel homeowners or individuals should be responsible to replace their house lines. The state should take on that burden and that responsibility. Keep the pies open for these next 2 years. These are some small wins that you can do from a state government level to ensure that you have the people's back.
4 years on since the water crisis began, Flint residents are both worried and angry. This is a story of trust, and few here believe what the state is telling them. Dan Williams, CGTN, Flint, Michigan.